My intracranial blood clot has enlarged. When I told my boyfriend about the diagnosis, he was busy chatting with another woman. The next day, he showed me a completely different diagnosis report, claiming that there was nothing to worry about. I calmly looked at his handsome face, hoping that he could remain calm even after my death. When the doctor handed me the diagnosis report, my head spun, and I almost collapsed in front of the elderly doctor. "Family?" he asked me, his tone carrying a hint of reproach that was typical of a doctor. I struggled to force a smile and shook my head at him. He was busy with a meeting, and I could handle it alone. In that moment, I remembered Henry's promises today and his determined attitude. He said he couldn't afford to lose a long-time client and assured me that he would accompany me next time. But, Henry, I don't have many next times left. I couldn't remember how I walked out of that small clinic. As I snapped back to reality, I saw Henry at the hospital entrance, and a chill ran down my spine. He was standing right in front of me, chatting amicably with a woman by his side. That woman, the one who bullied me for 3 whole years in high school. Jessica. The memories of fear inside me surged forth, and I tightly controlled my trembling fingertips. Is she more important to him than his clients? I stood frozen, unsure how to deal with the situation. Jessica noticed the smile in my eyes turning into disgust, and turning her head, she ingratiatedly said to Henry, "Isn't this our old schoolmate from high school? And now she's your employee." A tinge of guilt flashed across Henry's eyes as he quickly moved next to me and took my hand, introducing me to Jessica. "Judy is my girlfriend now." Jessica's eyes flickered with a hint of malice as she approached me with a familiar smile, every step seemingly crushing on my old wounds. With a cool gaze, she sneered, "Hello there." I stared back at Jessica and replied frankly, "What are you doing here?" It was only then that Henry belatedly made the introductions. Jessica is a protege of the famous designer Charles. She's here, out of the goodwill of our neighborhood, to serve as the design director. Since she's feeling unwell, I accompanied her for a checkup. From the moment he spoke, I knew I had lost completely. Since high school, she had always belittled me at every turn. The only thing she coveted was Henry's affection for me. Now, she wants to take away the only thing I have. Pretending to be shy, Jessica looked at Henry and smoothly shifted the topic. "Judy is quite talented too. I heard that most of your previous designs were hers. As a token of appreciation, how about we grab lunch together today?" I kept my head down, non-committal. Henry discreetly opened my clenched hand and, trying to diffuse the tension, accepted the invitation on my behalf. "Since you are old classmates and now colleagues, I'll treat today. Let's catch up at lunch." Jessica skillfully took over the navigation as she made herself comfortable in the passenger seat, adjusting every setting before relaxing against the seat, chatting merrily with Henry. Whether intentional or not, the car finally stopped at a Mexican restaurant. I glanced at Henry, but I found myself unable to utter a word of complaint. Henry loves spicy food, but I can't handle any spice. In the past, to accommodate me, he would choose non-spicy dishes, but today, he no longer wants to accommodate me. After getting off the car, Jessica smiled at Henry, playfully commenting, "Henry and I have always had an understanding. It's just us who could handle spicy food back in the day." Henry turned to her, and as they locked eyes, there were smiles exchanged between them. I held his hand, but it was apparent his mind was not on me, and this understanding did not include me. After the dishes arrived, the pungent spice tickled my nostrils, making me cough lightly. Jessica immediately feigned surprise. "Judy, after being with Henry for so long, can't you handle spicy food? Don't be so delicate. Give it a try. When we work together with Henry, we'll have many chances to enjoy spicy food." With that, she handed me a taco with hot sauce, looking pleased, her eyes carrying the same malice as when she bullied me years ago. The overwhelming memories nearly drowned me. My head grew heavy as I looked at Henry, only to meet his hopeful gaze. Having Jessica around at work might ease things for me. Hearing this, a pang of pain filled my heart, and I could only mechanically utter, while the burning and spicy flavor scorched my mouth, esophagus, and finally my stomach. Accompanied by a violent cough, I excused myself to the restroom amidst Jessica's malicious laughter. Henry followed closely behind, whispering softly, "I ordered the tuna salad. There might be a delay in serving today, because it's crowded. Let's go back and wait. Don't let others mock us." I sniffed, glared at him, and took out the examination report from my bag, sounding choked up. "If I don't have much time left, can I be a little willful? Can I have you wholeheartedly accompany me in my final days?" Henry took the examination sheet with a serious look on his face. "Judy, don't joke about this." Before he could finish, Jessica, who had been listening on the side, took the sheet and suggested, examination sheets can be easily mistaken nowadays. Why not go to a major hospital for a comprehensive checkup? My family's neurosurgery department is top-notch in the city. I can talk to the hospital and arrange for Judy to have a thorough examination. Jessica continued, the best neurosurgeon in the city is in our hospital. I introduced you to him because of Henry. If you go to another hospital with this condition, they wouldn't dare to operate on you. Think about it. After going home and closing the door, I couldn't contain the turmoil in my heart anymore and coldly questioned Henry. You have already decided on her, haven't you? From the excuse of the meeting to today's dinner, do I even have a presence in your heart anymore? His head drooped sadly as I confronted him, and I felt familiar, but overwhelming memories flooding back. I was the one wiping my face with a wet mop, the one drinking contaminated water in the classroom. Even the so-called prostitute everyone despised was me. I couldn't resist, couldn't express my dissatisfaction, didn't even have the right to defend myself against each misunderstanding. All this was thanks to Jessica. How could he not know? How could he forgive me so hypocritically? Returning to the present, Henry, with tears in his eyes, denied my accusations. I haven't, he choked out, but I was relentless. So, do you think being with her now is better than being with me? He hesitated to respond, repeating the same few phrases without giving me the explanations I wanted to hear. Judy, it's not what you think. I have my reasons. Judy, do you have so little faith in our love? Did I have faith before? Maybe once. During the time when my work was accused of plagiarism, I became the scapegoat for everyone. During those dark times when everyone shunned me, he was the only one who vouched for my innocence, stood by me through the lawsuit, endured those unbearable days and nights with me. Naturally, we ended up together, but then Jessica appeared, and my Henry started to drift away. As Henry held my hand, sincerity filled his eyes, and I wanted to refute his words, but I hesitated. Jessica's messages kept popping up on the phone screen, telling him not to believe me, not to be so kind. The buzzing of the messages annoyed me, and with all my strength, I managed to ask Henry to delete everything between us and to keep her out of my world. He looked at me for a long time, as if time had stopped, before he finally answered, I can't. Deceiver. In that instant, my heart felt like it had fallen into a cold, deep black hole, endlessly descending, but never hitting the bottom. Henry, how can I have faith in our relationship? I just want to fully embrace the light that used to belong to me in the little time left in my life. Is that such a crime? On the day of the examination, Jessica arranged for a so-called specialist to see me, and we were placed in a small examination room together. Wasn't there supposed to be an examination? Looking at the simple room and the two people already seated across from me, I couldn't help but feel doubtful. As Jessica laughed as if hearing a colossal joke and covered her mouth, she remarked, Judy, a specialist can see your minor condition easily. Such a big fuss would be a waste of resources, don't you think? I didn't understand being sick, nor the medical jargons they were using, feeling like a piece of driftwood amidst their conversation. She has been thin since high school, eating very little, always worrying about something or the other. What illness? What could it be? She freaks out over nothing, Jessica continued, unable to distinguish if it was me or her with the illness, and confused about Jessica's sudden kindness. I could only truthfully describe my symptoms in the gaps of their conversation. I've been having severe headaches lately, and I often struggle to breathe. Doctor, do I need a more detailed examination? You're fine, Judy. Don't worry about these imaginary things. Without waiting for the doctor's response, she abruptly stopped me, exchanged a few words with the doctor, and then took me for a mental assessment. Afterward, she hastily took the examination results and dragged me out, holding on to the results supposedly for Henry to see. Upon arrival, Henry waved at us from the booth at the nightclub. Jessica quickly ran over to him, leaving me awkwardly coughing in the aisle filled with the mixed smell of cigarettes and alcohol. As we reached the booth, the soreness in my throat hadn't completely faded away. I saw her spreading out a pile of reports in front of Henry and talking to him. Even the usually calm Henry couldn't help but crack a smile. Peeking closer, I saw that the results of my brain CT scan showed no signs of bleeding, but another mental assessment clearly stated that I had delusional disorder. My heart suddenly jumped heavily at this revelation. Before I could fully process it, Henry enveloped me in a tight hug with teary eyes, softly saying, thankfully it's not true, thankfully it's not. Watching his trembling shoulders, my heart ached as if someone was squeezing it tightly. That momentary pang of heartache even surpassed the anger I felt towards Jessica for faking the test reports. No wonder she quickly asked me a lot of superficial questions earlier. No wonder she suddenly acted so kindly. I turned slightly to meet Jessica's gaze. She raised her chin at me, looking smug and determined. I didn't back down and smirked back at her, determined not to lose this time. Back then, She had lured me to the rooftop and pushed me off amidst laughter. Even when I woke up in the hospital later, I had no idea who the assailant was. At that time, I stubbornly believed that getting into college and leaving those people behind would make everything better. But now, as I faced death, Jessica remained relentless in her pursuit. I changed my mind. I didn't want to quietly spend my last moments with Henry. I wanted to fight back. I wanted to tear off Jessica's fake mask before I died. Leaning on Henry's shoulder, I quietly pleaded with him to accompany me for another checkup, to tear off Jessica's mask once and for all. While he waited in line for me, I walked alone to the clinic door and heard a low growl from inside. "This is impossible. Your hospital must have made a mistake. How could there be blood clots in my brain?" The man came out of the clinic muttering curses. I glanced at the report in his hand, eager to confirm my suspicions. Seizing the moment, I charged forward, knocking his phone out of his hand. With a loud crash, the screen shattered as the man's phone hit the ground. Before he could retaliate, I quickly picked up the phone, bowed apologetically, and lied. "I'm sorry. I'll compensate you for the phone. Please give me your bank account number and contact information. I'll transfer the money to you." Silence ensued until a deep voice above me said, "Remember, I don't give out my contact info easily." I nodded repeatedly, entered a phone number in the man's phone. A pitch-black avatar popped up, and I showed it to him for confirmation. With no time to spare, I collected all the evidence I could find, took pictures, and uploaded everything to the cloud. Back home, Henry was nagging me like a possessed man, but I ignored him, washed up, and went straight to bed. Relentlessly, he climbed onto the bed and tried to snuggle, but I moved away until I couldn't take it anymore and put on my shoes to leave. Henry finally grabbed me, saying, "Judy, don't overthink it, okay?" He adjusted my body a few times, as if wanting to say something, but stopping himself. I knew he had already concluded that I had delusional disorder. Since I had known him, he had always been like that, requiring evidence for everything, unwavering in his judgments. So I knew that without presenting more compelling evidence than proper test reports, he would dismiss my doubts as baseless. It didn't matter anymore. What I feared more was Jessica using my delusional disorder to send me to a mental hospital. Once inside, all my efforts would be in vain. After a moment of silence, a message popped up on the screen, a notification that a friend request verification message had passed. I avoided Henry's gaze, started talking to the other person, but Henry noticed this subtle movement. Suddenly, he leaned in, his hot palm still holding mine tightly, his eyes showing a hint of jealousy as he delicately inquired, "Judy, can you tell me who you were on the phone with just now?" I retracted my hand, wrapped it around his neck, and whispered by his lips, "A fellow patient from the hospital." Before he could doubt further, I sealed his lips with mine. Seeing his breathing grow heavier, and his ears turning slightly red, I felt a wave of relief. After a few days of peace, a financial news item popped up on my phone. It mentioned how Henry, as a young entrepreneur, and the budding interior designer Jessica attended an industry summit together. Netizens in the comment section were even clamoring for them to get married, where Jessica's official account replied with a sly smiley face. Clutching my phone tightly, a sudden headache overwhelmed me. Knowing that this was Jessica's attempt to drive a wedge between us, I couldn't help but feel sad. Love works this way, isn't it? Knowing it's wrong, but still doing it. Even though I knew I'd be upset, I still went on a business trip with Jessica. I switched screens to message Henry, but when I looked up, a shadow fell over me. There stood Jessica in front of me, looking all puffed up like a proud rooster. A lunatic coming to see a doctor. She sneered. She had a way with words and knew exactly how to rile me up. But what she didn't anticipate was that I was no longer the Judy she could manipulate as before. With a smug grin on her face, she leaned in closer, her eyes full of madness. I didn't bother to play nice with her, seized the opportunity, and slapped her across the face. "Stealing other people's boyfriends, falsifying medical records, that's all you know how to do. Being a homewrecker, and even bragging about it. Have you no shame?" I said. She seemed to find it amusing, pulled up a news article on her phone, then pointed at it and at me. "The one not acknowledged is the homewrecker. He chose me to openly attend the industry annual meeting, not you," she retorted, then sent a message and grabbed my neck, slapping me hard several times. I was in pain and too weak to resist, so I just watched as she kept smacking my face. After she was done, she grabbed my hand and scratched her own arm with my fingers, leaving bloody marks. Then she sat down on the ground. By the time I realized what was happening, Henry was already by my side. He looked at me, then at Jessica, and ultimately chose to help her up. It was quite amusing, my boyfriend showing concern for another woman in front of me. I was fine. Judy was just overexcited, she said dramatically. As soon as we entered the meeting room, Tears started flowing down her face as if they were free, and she pretended to be strong as she complained to Henry. Though I felt embarrassed being humiliated like that, I couldn't blame Judy. She's just emotionally unstable due to her condition, she said, adding with a smirk, it's my fault. I should have controlled myself, but I couldn't resist when you agreed to go with her. Judy being upset is normal. Henry sighed in resignation and looked at me, speaking with a hint of distance. Judy, how many times have I told you we have a clear and honest relationship? You shouldn't be so suspicious. I coldly watched the two of them tag-teaming me, trying to pin the mental illness hat on me. Finally, I snapped. She's the one with the problem, scratching herself with my hand. Why am I to blame? I'm almost dying. Can't I live in peace? After venting out, a hint of tenderness flashed in Henry's eyes as he hugged me while I was losing control emotionally. Then, he asked me a question that nearly pushed me over the edge. Judy, have you not been taking your medication on time recently? Jessica, taking the opportunity, chimed in. It's okay if she injured me this time, but if she hurt someone else, it'll be a big problem. Let's admit her to the hospital. I could only shake my head hopelessly at Henry. With a furrowed brow, Henry seemed to ponder Jessica's suggestion seriously. Seeing that, I almost drowned in despair. After a while, he collected himself and said, I don't feel at ease leaving Judy alone in the hospital. If we want to ensure her safety, I'll have someone with her 24 hours. I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Jessica gritted her teeth. So, Henry doesn't trust me to look after Judy. I'm doing this for Judy's well-being. If Judy stays, I'll give you that information now. I won't trade Judy for information, Henry replied, not looking back. If you don't give me the data, I'll find it myself, just with more effort. He then led me out of the hospital and into the car. Henry fastened my seatbelt, focused on driving, not even sparing me a glance. He drove me to an old villa. You'll stay here until your condition stabilizes. I'll arrange for someone to take care of you, he said. Lost in my thoughts, I couldn't comprehend why, after so many years together, I didn't know he had a house here. Seeing my confusion, Henry guessed my thoughts, and he patted my head, explaining, this is my grandfather's house. We used to live here before my mom passed away. What happened after that? I couldn't contain my curiosity, but Henry didn't want to say more and just ushered me into the room. In the afternoon, Henry quickly left, after settling me in and introducing me to the landline in the room to contact him anytime. Lying on the bed, I noticed a square crack on the ceiling. Curious, I moved the furniture and managed to open it. Inside was a small attic room with aged posters on the walls, piecing together a story. The White's daughter married against the family's wishes, and the son-in-law seemed to abandon his wife and child, fleeing the country. There was also a report about a major traffic accident in the city, with 5 deaths and 7 injuries. Next to the report was a consent form for organ donation, with a bloody handprint in the signature area, and the Harold Hospital mentioned. I recalled that Henry's grandfather's family name is White. Putting these pieces together, I roughly guessed the truth behind the matter. Carefully restoring the attic, I returned to the room, receiving a good news message on my phone. Lucas informed me that the city government officials would handle my case, and scheduled a signing appointment at 5 o'clock. As I was about to leave, following Henry's instructions, someone was sent to accompany me. At the cafe, I ordered coffee and waited for Lucas in a secluded spot. To my surprise, Henry and Jessica arrived together. While they were seated, I overheard Jessica mentioning something about confidential medical records to Henry, who thanked her. Jessica then informed him about my report, and he agreed to handle it. Everything fell into place exactly as I had suspected. Just then, Lucas arrived, and after signing the documents, we were about to leave discreetly. However, as we passed by Henry, he unexpectedly grabbed me, leading to a confrontation between him and Lucas. Their argument escalated, with Lucas defending me and Henry expressing his discontent with the accusations and the presence of another man by my side. Coming out of the police station, it was already dark. Henry called out my name, his tone chillingly devoid of warmth. I turned around, meeting Jessica's emotionless gaze. Reporting the hospital is not something you should be doing, she said coldly. Feeling overwhelmed, I wanted to ask him about his recent changes, possibly due to his mother, and inform him of the efforts Lucas and I had made. But before I could speak, his scorching slap shattered my thoughts. In silence, I understood that he would never believe me. Jessica had successfully painted me as the crazy one everyone knew. He opened the car door, signaling me to get in, his expression filled with a sense of defeat. Unable to utter a word, I shook my head and walked in the opposite direction. This time, he didn't chase after me nor incessantly call me. Realizing that my love had come to an end, coinciding with my life, I returned to our rented house. Neglected and filled with dust, It was either a sad or bitter atmosphere that lingered within me. After resting, I went downstairs to buy food. Suddenly, a speeding van rushed towards me as I crossed the street, and the massive impact and pain instantly consumed me. Lying on the ground, looking up at the empty sky, I thought it might be better if I had died. It felt like death, or a very long dream. Dreaming of Jessica gradually destroying my life, and the boy who pushed me down the stairs. His eyes were beautiful, familiar, and frightening. After a long time, I opened my eyes to find myself in a dark room. The faint red light from the equipment indicated that I was not dead, but in a hospital. Then, I heard Jessica's distinct voice. "It's been hours. The anesthesia is wearing off. Did the surgery go well?" she asked anxiously. A calm male voice responded, "Almost done. If we start the surgery without proper readiness and complications arise, she could die on the spot." Pausing for a moment, she spoke seductively, "Hurry up. If the police arrive before you finish, your wife won't make it. She's the only liver match for your wife." Realizing the truth, lying on the hospital bed, I acknowledged that Jessica's sudden closeness, the wrong examinations, and her acquaintance with the doctor had ensnared me from the start. "Jessica, you've won, but I haven't lost either," I thought to myself as I heard the man approaching slowly, my breathing intensifying. It seemed like he also sensed something. Suddenly, a loud screeching of brakes pierced the night sky. I heard Henry slam the car door and shout my name downstairs. I quickly got out of bed, grabbed the nearest chair, and hit the window to signal back. Facing the two of them, they wanted to take my liver, but they couldn't use force. Jessica kept urging, "Hurry, get the anesthesia ready." The man struggled with the syringe several times, finally filled it up to the brim with medication. His face contorted with tension as he grabbed my arm and slammed me against the wall, panting heavily, ready to plunge the needle. Suddenly, the door was kicked open, and I held my breath instinctively. Henry's fist came down fast, knocking the man's head to the side. Seeing this, Jessica quickly yelled, "Henry, stop. Have you forgotten how you begged me to be friends in the first place? My purpose of getting close to you, you already know, right? My mother tragically died, and you took advantage of her and stole her liver while she was barely cold. I got close to you initially to find out the truth." Henry stopped his hand, his voice as cold as ice. Jessica sneered, "Yes, we are the bad guys, but have you not done any bad things? In high school, the first thing I promised you when you joined us was to push her down the stairs. Remember that?" Henry fell silent, avoiding eye contact. As I watched this drama unfold, memories of the nightmare that had haunted me for years flooded back. Jessica stood proudly on the steps, and I struggled to open my eyes against the pain, seeing the disgust in Henry's refined features. I closed my eyes, and tears streamed down uncontrollably. So, that's all his love for me amounted to. In an instant, the pain in my head surged, and I knew I was running out of time. After all this time of prolonging the illness, surviving the accident, this body could only hold on until now because Jessica and the others were keeping me alive for my organs. With one last effort, I opened my eyes and saw Henry kneeling in front of me, apologizing like a man gone mad. Summoning my last ounce of strength, I responded to the devil I'd loved for half my life. "I can't forgive." Then my soul slowly ascended, watching Henry cry uncontrollably as he held my body, and the police burst in to arrest Jessica. I felt a sense of closure. Jessica's mask had been ripped off, and I finally learned the truth about that year. The culprit would spend a lifetime in remorse. It seemed like karma punishing me for wasting half my life. I could only linger near Henry. Returning home, he rummaged through the old, broken phone I left behind for a long time. He sat on my favorite couch, looking at the photos inside, crying, then laughing, then crying again, like a homeless puppy. I hovered in the air, feeling satisfied, and muttered, "Serves you right." Suddenly, as if remembering something, he frantically searched through my contacts and found one named Sick Friend. I vividly recalled the conversation I hadn't told Henry that day. I nervously typed out a message on my phone, my fingers trembling. "I'm sorry for breaking your phone. I suspect someone tampered with our test reports." As I sent the message, a call came in with a blank profile picture vibrating continuously. "So, my test results belong to you. You have a blood clot in your brain." I couldn't imagine someone easily believing a stranger claiming such a condition, so I explained the situation concisely. After listening, the person on the other end cursed briefly, but then cautiously comforted me. "You've had quite a run of bad luck, young lady. Tell me, what help do you need? Whatever I can do to help, I will." Surprised by how quickly he offered help, tears welled up in my eyes. "Can you please send me a copy of your report? I want to have a professional confirm if both reports are mine." He waved off the need for professionals, offering to help himself. I shared the data with him on a cloud storage platform, and reminded him that he needed substantial evidence for reporting the higher medical authority. In the end, I transferred $5,000 to him, which he initially refused, but I explained, if I don't live to see the day they are brought to justice, the money means nothing to me. Besides, I still owe you for your phone. He reluctantly accepted the money. We exchanged names. He was Lucas, claiming to work in a driving business. He assured me he would contact me with any updates. After reading the message, Henry slapped himself in self-mockery, then cursed a stupid fool in a voice I could hear. Why didn't you tell me you were sick, you idiot? As I watched him in pain from above, I felt strangely detached. I did tell you, Henry. Do you remember what you said? You believed Jessica, and told me not to be paranoid. Remember, at the farewell ceremony, when the white cloth was removed, the decomposed body revealed itself. The slap he gave me that day was crystal clear in my mind. The medical examiner expressed regret, and he looked bewildered, with tears and snot running down his face, asking what was regrettable. The doctor pointed out on the CT scan, explaining in layman's terms, this is cancer, advanced stage. It could have been treated, but it was delayed too long, and the accident happened, and the young lady couldn't make it. As I saw the doctor finish speaking, Henry clutched his chest, knelt down, repeatedly slapping himself, crying more mournfully than the day I died. Henry, you will suffer, and you will spend the rest of your life accepting my punishment. But Henry, I don't want you to cry. I absent-mindedly touched my damp face, telling myself it was just because the hospital was too cold, not because I felt sorry for that bastard. I drifted around witnessing Henry's mother's case resolved, Judy in prison, and Henry turning into a scruffy old man. Then I arrived at a place where a voice told me I could choose my life again. I made only two requests: no more Jessica in my life, and no more Henry.